Arise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are back for another episode of Atari Twilight, Age of Always. And as you can see on your screen before you, it's going to be a very special episode here. Almost like a Christmas special, but probably the opposite. So, if you like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is by joining us over on our Patreon. Link in the description down below. While you're down there, click on that Discord link. Join us in the Discord. Be a part of the community. Be a part of the conversation. And as always, in the bottom of your screen, you will see the Michigan bar. When that bar fills, Greg unleashes horrible, terrible things on all of his players and their characters. And Greg, you're starting today with at least one full bar already. So go nuts. Yeah, with that, I turn things over to our illustrious game master. Greg, please take us into the Age of Always.
Thank you so much, my friend. And just so everybody knows, the Michigan that I believe has already been completed, I have already baked into the cake. So if and when we get another one, please let me know because I have 3 potential additions I can add to all of this to make horrible shit happen. So all right, everybody, this is a special episode of Atari Twilight, Age of Always. This is where the Keystones, who have journeyed into the Narnia-esque Age of Always, lost one of their own early on as JD decided to go off on his own with his ever stalwart companion, the One Ring, to see exactly how they could tell a tale and how they could help in this, the Age of Always. And so this is the journey that has transpired between this solo character while the rest of the group has continued on to Emerald City and I guess points north. And now we get to find out when and how and in what manner JD got from here to there and back again. So, my friends, before we get started, I want to introduce the player today as we look over at Bacon. Bacon, just to remind me and everybody else, tell us please who you are, who you'll be playing, and if you could give us some of the specifics of the Tales of the Loop system by Free League. For instance, your name of your character, what his playbook is, what his character class happens to be, and then of
Sure.
course what his drive, problem, and pride, the 3 kind of ingredients of the narrative of your backstory. And take it away, my friend.
Yeah. So Bacon50, but on Twitter I go by As Told by Dice. Been taking kind of a hiatus from a lot of online stuff as I've become a dad in the last year and a half here. I am playing Jesse J.D. Davis. He is 14 years old and considered a bookworm. My iconic item is the One Ring. My drive is I want to create my own adventure, like the stories I read. The problem that I guess I've had is my dad doesn't approve of my love for pop culture. He'd rather me be in sports, and my pride is kind of my knowledge of movies and TV and pop culture of the like. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Nervous but excited.
Fantastic. That's the perfect combination. And I will say this too, since our Keystones are here in spirit as well, that it was on a Saturday in October, way back when, that Scarlett threw a touchdown pass to one Jesse Davis while we had the Keystones in the stands cheering them on. And it was almost to the day that we started all of this. So on October 8th of 1988 was the day in which this all started. And I thought it was special that, again, we continue our tale after our hiatus on a Saturday in October as well, my friends. So let's get ready to dive back into the Age of Always. And because we have a long way to go and a short time to get there, my friends, I wanted to make this short and sweet, but respectful of JD, because this is a moment where he leaves. He steps upon Eternity Road, and Eternity Road claims each traveler that steps on individually. It claims each traveler that steps upon it in a group. But in this moment, Jesse is alone, with the exception of the ever present One Ring talking inside of his head. But Jesse is approaching a group that he had seen, that he had been watching from afar, scrying upon. A group consisting of a wounded ferryman who used to be the guide here upon Eternity Road, and a smaller man in a conical hat and robes, and a beautiful young woman, and an older lady. These 3 seem to be in perfect health, but the ferryman has taken ill and now lies within a tent. The information being given is that he is near death, and JD needed to act. He needed to act quickly, and act he did. And my friends, in those final moments before he stepped upon the road, they're confronted with Donovan, one of the residents of the Age of Always. Donovan looked at JD and said, "You show promise. You will do well here." And in these echoes of the moments that have preceded as footfalls upon the eternity road, we hear the exchange of the ring with JD as it reverberates through both this space and the entire age, as it says, "It's our story now." And JD responded with, "Rules are meant to be broken." And the ring said, "But not ours." And JD said, "Because we're always right." Sometimes there is only one right path. Sometimes there is only one perfect moment. Sometimes there's only one person for the job. This is a tale of sometimes. Welcome, one and all, to Atari Twilight, Age of Always, Keystone. JD, you are upon Eternity Road, and as I described to you upon our last meeting many, many moons ago, that you were walking towards what looked like an interstate highway, a 2-lane highway, but with an interstate overpass kind of ringing it. And as you went through and under that overpass, you emerged on the other side and you see ahead of you, camped on the road itself, on the asphalt, right on the lines of Eternity Road, you see a large white, kind of a luxurious tent, and you see these people that are kind of milling about, but upon your approach, they all turn and they all smile and they start to approach you. The smile's getting bigger, and the one in the conical hat and the beautiful young lady begin to run towards you as if they know you. My friend, welcome back to the Age of Always. Welcome back to the table. Welcome back, my beloved Keystone member. And what does JD do?
Um, I think he kind of maybe takes a step back and he says, "Well, what's going on? What's going on?"
As soon as they see your kind of hesitancy, they stop immediately and kind of like they soften their posture, and they realize that maybe in their excitement they came off as being a little bit too aggressive. It's almost like a synergy between the two of them as they act almost in concert. And the man with the conical hat steps forward and he says, the queen said that you would find us, and we in turn would help you find what you need. We've been waiting for you, my friend."
He thinks about it for a second and he said, "Is he doing okay?"
Both of their faces fall. "He is not, but he knows that you are coming." And he goes, "Manners, manners. I I am Schmendrick, wizard to she who sits the Mobius throne. And this is the lady Amalthea. And this is the lady Molly." And the older lady steps forward and interrupts him. "It's just Molly, Molly Grew. Now, Miss Grew, if you're nasty." And they look at you, and Schmendrick holds his hands up and says, it's okay. We know who you are. You're the walking dude, or the jaunting dude. The queen said to call you JD."
She knows a lot about me already. It's nice to meet all of you. Yeah, JD would be nice.
Very well. And to describe them a little bit more now that you're closer to them, the wizard, as he's proclaimed himself, has a very wizard-esque conical hat. He has the long robes of a wizard, and he is also wearing a pair of what look like welding goggles. The old school kind with like the leather that rims around the outside and very dark sunglass kind of lenses within them. They're strapped to the back of his head, and you can tell immediately what he needs them for, because every once in a while you see a spark kind of fly off of his fingertips, and you see that maybe like of each hand, 3 of the 5 fingernails are blackened. But even when each of them kind of pop and sputter, none of his other companions seem to react to it, but it does make a bit of a moment. So do me a favor, and if you wouldn't mind, pick any of your skills that you think would keep you from jumping when the first of these energy pops go out. And this is for nothing more than flavor for your companions to see you for the first time. So would it be force, or maybe force of will, something that you would like to use? You can use anything from, I'd even go so far as to say you could use calculate, something that you could see coming along, but I will also take force and I will also take comprehend as a way to kind of steel yourself against this surprise?
I was thinking comprehend. I think it makes the most sense for me to understand kind of like what it was prior to it happening.
Absolutely, my friend. Yep, go right ahead.
All right, there we go.
Absolutely. And it's almost as if the sparks come off. And the funny thing is, it's because you have such a relationship with the One Ring and you're so kind of in sync with the One Ring. You feel the One Ring jump as if the One Ring didn't expect that to happen. And it's odd because it's a ring. You can't see any type of physical reaction to it, but it's almost like you hear the ring gasp, even though you don't, but you know it did. Take that for what you will, my friend, as you keep a steely exterior, and as the first of Schmendrick's kind of pop spark fireworks go off, and he shakes the hand that it emitted from. Apologies, I'm excited.
You're not gonna burn me with that, are you?
Oh, heavens, no, no, I am myself, yes, but it, I mean, it could if you were holding my hand or we were shaking hands or you know, ring around the rosy. What are some other, and the lady, the beautiful girl kind of escorts him back and she looks at you and smiles and just says, he means well, he's never burned me. And she starts moving back towards the camp as the older lady Molly steps forward and she says, are you okay? No one asked.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. Um, I was just in need of a change, and well, I've been learning, looking, watching. He seemed like he needed help. Uh, I wanted to provide some help.
She has a she has what would be called a non-poker face. If Molly is feeling something, you can easily read it across her features. And you can see that there is a measure of both sympathy and empathy. And you can tell that she immediately respects your honesty, if that makes sense. No need for a role here. Like I said, Molly is an open book. And the first paragraph could basically be summed up with she is impressed with JD. And she looks at you and says, he's been asking for you. He is delirious. He knows you've been watching. Can I take you to him?
Yeah, please do.
And she nods and she doesn't, you know, even look back to see if you're following, but she takes you to the great white tent. It's something that you would see, you know, perhaps a sultan of old would have, you know, and opens the large kind of white flap that's weighted at the bottom. Even though the breeze is still here, it's certainly not moving any more of the tent than the tent wants it to move. And when you see the inside, it's still brightly lit, you know, the white tent itself conducting the light through in a translucent way. But there is also a level of smoke inside, and you can smell incense burning of some type. And upon a like a rolled out rug with another robe underneath his head, you see the man that you have been scrying upon, the ferryman, and he is lying, his turban off to the side, his hands over his chest. And for a moment, you would think that he had already expired, but you see the slow rise of his chest and the slow fall. What do you do, my friend?
I'll walk over to him. I'll kneel down, put my hands like on his chest, and I'll say, "Well, I think help has arrived. What can I do for you? How can I help?"
His eyes flutter open, and as soon as he sees your face, he smiles. I know you would come. I saw it in a dream.
I
She,
think I always knew I was gonna make it here eventually, although that was just my gut. No dreams for me.
your gut has served you well. Ask questions if you want. My time is almost done.
Where were you going?
Here, I was told to die on the road here. and wait for you.
Am I meant to take your place?
No, no, the road has already chosen another. I am to be stardust again. Golden. Billion-year-old carbon.
What would you like from me?
I have been told that there is a path only you can walk. I do not envy someone that must walk a path by themselves, but I have been there. And you are never alone. Those that travel with you will always travel with you. I fear that this will lead to, and he kind of, with the first time his lips aren't the only thing moving as his hands on his chest kind of indicate his body. This was done to me. I fear that they are trying to lure out the bishop. I
I
don't know
think
what
they
you can
are.
do.
I don't. Do you know who did this to you? Did you see him?
He did not. But it was done. And you can now see the black veinage in his neck that you witnessed just a bit in the scry when you were looking inside the cauldron. And you can see it disappear down from his neck into his kind of loose white shirt that he has on. And you can tell that it must get worse the farther down his body it goes, because you can actually see dark lines through the white clothing that he wears, and you know that his skin carries even darker pigmentation as what you can only guess to be some sort of poison finishes its work. I don't know, but the only one that they know could save me would be the bishop, and she does not leave the cathedral, and if she does, then they can take her. Do not let them.
Okay. I can try. What? I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what to do. Um, I want to do the right thing, but I don't know where to go.
He smiles. You are already on the road. And sometimes wanting to do something and doing the right thing are not the same.
Yeah, I know. He JD kind of sits up, like kind of straightens his shoulders, tries to take like a deep breath, and yeah, he doesn't know if there's anything else to say. He says, "Can I help you at least be more comfortable?"
And you see him weakly point towards his pack, and you can tell it's his pack. It's, again, his entire kind of color scheme seems to be white, and he points to this great white pack that the contents have been emptied a bit, but at the very top you see a little box with a crank on the side of it, and you see him just kind of point a weak finger, and even much like Schmendrick's fingernails are blackened from electricity, you can see that the poison has crept to his fingertips as well. And you aren't a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, JD, but you can tell that he probably can't feel with those fingers anymore. They seem pale and just weak. But he points towards this small music box.
Okay, I'll go over to it. Um, I'll open it and I'll crank the wheel, and kind of set it down next to him.
It's interesting. What song does it play, my friend?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think it just plays kind of like the tune of like a nursery rhyme, something that's just sweet. It's nice to listen to. It doesn't have words. I think it would be something that would be pleasant if these were your your final minutes.
Very good. So you put it down on his chest and you cranked it and you hear that little, just kind of a tinny beat, just maybe one note hitting and carrying forward. No like orchestral arrangement or anything like that, obviously. And you sort of recognize the melody a bit, but it sounds like you said, it sounds not like a song or any type of musical construction. It sounds like just a nursery rhyme, just a simple song sung to children, which this was. His father sung this to him when he was young. And as he sits there and you hear that lullaby, that beat, you hear coming from his lips just a one or two words, and you hear him say, "She's got eyes that seem to me, remind me childhood memories." And you hear him say this as his voice gets weaker and he falls asleep. And you can tell that it's not the eternal sleep because, again, with the music box now clutched in those kind of steepled fingers on his chest, you still see his chest slowly rise and slowly fall. The others are gathered at the mouth of the tent, but they don't say anything. You can see their shadows kind of falling over you and the ferryman as they kind of are silhouetted in the light of the falling day. Um, but they remain quiet. And to give you time, you see each of the shadows kind of disappear until the flap kind of closes out the square of light that was illuminating them. What do you do, my friend, as camp seems to be set and a fire has been started along the road? You're not sure where they got the wood, but wood they have and it's burning. Ricky's not here to tell you how they could do that.
I'll take a second. I guess internally, or however JD has been speaking to the ring, I'll say, I didn't know you could get scared.
I've never been on any journey like this before. It's odd. I no longer feel like a trophy or a weapon. I feel like a seed. I don't know what I will grow into, but I feel promise.
If you had to choose, what would you grow into?
There is a pause, as if the ring isn't sure. And then it knows with certainty, and you feel the certainty because, again, there's nothing that can be hidden between the two of you anymore. Your friend. I would like to be your friend, truly.
I've asked myself the question I just asked you a million times. If I could grow up and be anything, grow into something, what would it be? And it's funny that I found it, but in a weird way, I stumbled upon an adventure that I didn't know I would have. It's been fun. Is it normal to be scared all the time? I don't know. It feels normal though. I think about the story I read that you're in. It never expressly said that they were scared, but their actions seemed to prove otherwise, that they were the entire time. Most of the books that I've read by Stephen King, that all the people are scared the entire time, but they stand up and do something. I think that's what I wanted, so you need to help me do that.
You feel a conviction flood through you. To my last minute, I will help you. We can use the fear as fuel. You can be everything you want to be.
That's my hope, but that's my hope. And I'll exit the tent. I'll go to the campfire. I'll sit amongst my new companions. And I'll just say, I don't think he has much time left. I think we need to get to the bishop as soon as possible. Where were you all headed when you were with him?
Schmendrick kind of gets ready to speak, but it's uh, a lady Amalthea who speaks up and kind of gently puts a hand on Schmendrick's thigh. Um, and Schmendrick, who seems to again be excited, you heard several pops while you were in the tent. He sort of shakes his head and goes to sipping tea, which seems to calm him, or at least you think it does, because the rapidity of the sparks seems to decrease substantially upon some type of relaxation for him. Um, and she says to you, "We were told to come here by she who sits on the Mobius throne. We were told to follow the ferryman, and that we would find someone who would help us save everything. That's you." And she smiles.
I I don't know. I hope I can be that person for you, but how do you know it's me? How do I know that that's me?
They all look at each other, but there's not a look of like, oh no, are we in the right place, or confusion, or they look and kind of nod and they say, she turns to you again, and Molly nods and she looks down and she's drinking something, but you're pretty sure it's not tea. Um, it's probably something a bit stronger. Uh, but Lady Amalthea says, "That is the mark of all great heroes. Uncertainty. Brilliance is thrust upon many, but only true heroes question why. You are who we were meant to find. I know it."
Just thinks for a bit. He says, when would you all like to leave?
You look over and Schmendrick puts his tea down, and for the first time you see him reach up and unclip the goggles and pull them off, because it's gotten too dark really for him to see now. And for the first time, and in fact, I'm going to make you roll for this. Roll for, let me see, give me an investigate if you would, my friend.
One success.
Easy enough to see as Schmendrick pulls off the goggles, you see one brown eye and one blue eye. Roll contact for me, please.
No successes.
As always with the system that we have in play here, my friend, you can re-roll with the condition element coming in. You can use your pride for a success, and I don't believe you have any luck. Do you have any luck? You should.
I have no. I don't have any right now that I have
You
checked
should.
anyway. Okay.
Yeah, you should, because I think right at 14 you still have one. Isn't that what it is? Players? Anybody help me?
Yeah, you tell me. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Does anybody remember? Yes, we still have one. Yes. Okay. It doesn't matter. You have a luck if you want to use it.
I'll hold on to it. Who knows what's gonna happen in this next hour and a half?
Absolutely. So, as you see, the eye, him take off, and you see the eyes, the blue and the black, or the blue and the brown. It takes you a bit to realize, as you sit there, that you know this person. You kind of, for a moment, and it takes a good half hour for this to sink in, when you realize that this is a 30-ish year old version of Chris Witt, or a much younger version of Main Street Jimmy.
I think as I realize, I'm gonna say, Jimmy, is that you? Is that you?
The eyes get wide. I'm, I'm, I'm Schmendrick. That is my old name. How do you know that?
Well, I knew you, or one of you, maybe. I don't know. Things are weird.
Wh-
I just
wh-
realized too that you all know me, and I guess I know your names, but I don't know anything about you. Well, I guess I know a little bit about you, Schmendrick, but
Schmendrick looks to his right and left. First, where do you hail from? What village do you live in?
Garrett?
You see tears spring from each corner of his eye. That is where I am from.
I know.
And
I,
he turns and looks at his companions. I told you, it would work. We are here. And they kind of comfort him. They can see he gets very hysterical. You start to see kind of the energy sort of building around his fingertips. Um, Roll me another investigate.
one.
For the first time now, you can see that as this energy builds up in his fingertips, it's not exactly electricity. It's a special bluish hue. And with the darkness, you notice what it is. You know that Garrett had its lights powered by it. You know that at one point, Scarlet had a backpack with some of it in it. And you know that Optimus Prime desperately needed some of this at one point, as
Hmm.
you correctly identify the energon that is flowing through Schmendrick.
I think he takes a pause on Schmendrick, and he looks to the others and he says, "Are you from Garrett too?"
The others, oh, no, heavens, no, says the Lady Amalthea. I'm from the country. And Molly looks at the lady for a second, kind of side eye, and then looks over at JD. No, I'm just from the village. I'm just me. And she seems disappointed in that admittance.
I'm just me too. So
That seems
don't
to
be too.
brighten her up a little bit. You see her spine kind of straighten a bit at that.
Jimmy, when did you come across Energon? That's what did this to you? Yeah.
And you can tell that like they're still kind of like each of them have a hand on his shoulder, kind of holding him. And he looks at you. I don't know. I came here as a small boy. I don't remember my town much, but I got here and I met the queen and she helped me and kept me in place. I was jumping around to different places and I couldn't stop. And you see him reach into his kind of the loose robe and you see him pull out a medallion and it's crystal. She gave this to me and I haven't jumped since. And you see that it is a crystal representation of a four-leaf clover.
Uh, I. What is a? Can I see that? Do you mind? Or will it cause you to?
Oh no, you may see it, but I cannot take it off. And he is on a chain, so he kind of comes over to you and like gives you it and gives you as much space as he
Sure.
can.
What does a four-leaf clover mean to you, Schmendrick? Is it just
I'm
luck?
luck, I think, right? Isn't that the four-leaf clover? Luck of the Irish and all that.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's I point to one leaf. That's Ricky, and point to the other one. There's Scarlet, Heather, and me. It seems the first time I've ever seen one of these was because Heather showed it to me. So it seems odd that you would have something that, and he stumbles on his words and he stops. And I think JD internalizes like maybe I am the person for this job. There's too many things that connect me to at least to Schmendrick right now. And JD comes back to his senses and he says, "Who gave this to you? The bishop gave this to you?"
The queen, she who sits the Mobius throne. When I first arrived here, I was a little boy, and she gave it to me. And I have been here ever since in service of the queen. I haven't always been the wizard. Her witch is on a mission, and she was my teacher, and they took her place while she is away.
The queen. Okay. Um, I think that's okay. When we're ready, I think we should. Well, when we can, I think we should go. We should go quickly.
Absolutely. And he goes to stand up, and as like he doesn't deliberately like yank the necklace away or anything like that, but as it's slowly pulling from your like kind of held fingers, just as it slips off, it flips over, and you see on the back written across each of the kind of the leaves, it says never say never.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll. JD's all sorts of confused, um, in the sense of like how is this happening? Kind of confused. Um, I don't know why he would ask himself that question, considering all of the things that he's been a part of and seen. How just a mere thought of a clown pulled it into reality. But he's still somewhat dumbfounded that his stories have ended up this way, like a part of his life. And he says, I want to see the queen as soon as possible."
And he looks back at Molly. It's almost as if the two of them, Lady Amalthea and Schmendrick, deferred to Molly, who is by far, with the exception of the ferryman, the oldest person in this space. And Molly looks and says, "We can get you to her."
Okay. Well, I don't want to leave him just in the tent alone. Is there anything that we can do, or I don't know. What are his wishes? I've watched him, but
Um,
I don't know him.
the lady, the young girl, steps forward. He said he would not see the sun again. I believe him. It shouldn't be long now. I will go and attend. And as she walks off, you realize that there's a couple odd things about the girl too, is that she seems to just be wearing what looks like an overdress, something that, people might put on if they wanted to protect their dress from, chores or labor. It's almost like a full-bodied apron type of thing. It's very loose. It's certainly not something that you would, uh, wear for any type of occasion other than work. And she is also barefoot, and it's those feet that you hear, or not hear, but see silently move into the tent. And again, the tent flap closes, but this time no light is conducted with the white tent. It seems brighter in the beautiful weather and darkness of the age of always, but um, it's not dreary, but there is a lack of hope as the fire grows a bit dimmer. And Molly says, "We can wait for him to pass," as callous as that sounds.
Yeah. Um, I think we should do that, but and as bad as it does sound, we should go directly after. I think that we can't waste too much time.
I agree. And unless there's something else to say, the hours slip towards dawn, and it's probably an hour before sunrise. And you are either awoken, or if you're already up, you are gathered to the tent by the lady who says it is time. Was JD sleeping?
No, probably not.
Then, as Molly and Schmendrick kind of sleep, you see them like right by the fire, heads on their packs. Strangely enough, they don't seem to be sleeping in the tent. They are outside with you around the fire. The lady comes out and she indicates kind of like the log beside you, the seat. May I?
Please.
She sits down and puts her hands like on her knees, and her back is almost impossibly straight with like perfect posture. I believe it is his time. I am unaccustomed to these things.
Me too. I've never really been around anybody dying.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. Although it seems inevitable now.
Too much death can change you.
I guess that's true. I wouldn't know.
We must remember life. It is always preferable.
Yeah, I think so too. How did you get here? Schmendrick mentioned he'd been moving from one place to another. How'd you end up in this spot with us?
Schmendrick helped me. I lost my people and he helped me find them. And I owe him a great debt.
Where are your people now?
And they're back in the country. They're doing well. And she seems so proud of that.
I hope my people are doing well. I think they are. What made you come on this journey? Just chosen? Picked out of the litter?
I volunteered. I owe Schmendrick, but this place is, and she kind of looks up at the incredible stars that you don't recognize. This place is special. It tells you things when you need to be told them. I was told to come here.
I always dreamed of being in a place like this, somewhere away from home, somewhere where I could have my own fun, my own adventures.
Are you having fun?
JD laughs and he says, not all the time. Right now, it's okay.
Are you having adventure?
That would be an understatement.
She reaches over and kind of pats your knee. Well, at least you know there are different things. Adventure and fun.
Yeah, I've learned that. Are you having
kind
fun?
She leaves her hand at the, she almost was ready to like pull her hand away, but at the asking of that question, she leaves it there for a second. I believe I am. And she pushes up and she uses kind of like your leg to push herself up as she goes to rouse Molly and Schmendrick. And you just hear her whisper into each of their ears, it's time, it's time.
I'll stand up too. And yeah, get ready to go.
Roll me and investigate as you walk towards the tent.
Okay. I'm going to use my luck on that one.
Okay.
2 successes.
Bank one of those successes for later because you're only going to need one of them. But this is a time-based thing. And just before you go, like everybody kind of ducks into the flap of the tent as the lady holds it. And as Schmendrick goes in and Molly goes in, the lady looks at you for just a second and then she herself kind of crawls in. You look around the road for a moment and you hear the ring. I feel it too. Something's wrong.
What do you think it is?
I do not know. Cannot see. And that is concerning. I should be able to see.
Do you think someone knows we're coming?
You hear that pause again as you've realized that the pause is the ring is like agreeing with like half of what you said. And then basically answers, I, I believe they know we are here because they are.
I look to the rest of the group and just, I think we should be going.
They look for a moment, and you can tell now just with a brief, even a carryover from your earlier investigation, that as you peek into the tent to tell them this, you see that there is no longer a rise and fall coming from the ferryman's chest. He has passed in those moments where they entered the tent and you were outside with the ring. But as you peek and look in, you see along the walls of the tent, you see a figure appear in shadow, a figure at the back wall appear in shadow, two figures on the left wall appear in shadow. And as the other companions turn to look back at you, you can tell immediately that none of them have seen it. And just as the ring is about to raise the alarm, you, JD, saw it before the ring. You felt it before the ring as you see these figures that must be ringing the tent and their silhouettes cast against the projection of the white walls. What do you do in this moment? Because you only have one.
Who's the closest to me?
They're all pretty much equidistant because they're all right by the. If you wanted to say who's like just incrementally closer to you, the lady would be the lady, then Schmendrick, then Molly.
Well, I'll reach to the lady then and try and pull her towards me away from these shadow figures. And as I'm doing so, I'm gonna yell, "Run!"
And in that moment and with that run, friends, if you will, Atari Twilight is based upon the player's tales at the table, but also to augment such things, we have songs to play. So if you could do me a favor, go to our playlist, Atari Twilight Keystones, and go to track number 4, if you would, and play Little Kansas. And as Kansas starts to play Carry On My Wayward Son, you grab the lady, and she in turn, almost like a chain, grabs Schmendrick, and Schmendrick grabs Molly. But when Schmendrick does so, he is excited, and you hear a pop and a cry from Molly as he basically juices her up a little bit. As you pull everybody out, roll me a force as JD pivots from the book smarts to the physical smarts in this moment.
Nice, 3 successes.
You can bank 2 of those, please. So if I ask you to make a force roll, you have 2 banked. And you pull everybody free just as the tent collapses behind you. The walls seem to be cut, and all of the supporting poles fold and fall in as they were designed to do whenever you're putting the tent up. But unfortunately, this was a moment of ambush. And as the last of the tent poles fall, you pull, and Molly comes out shrieking from the shock that Schmendrick gave her. But you are all free of this structure, no one trapped inside, as you see 5 robed figures. These are figures that are dressed identically to the ones that you saw and overheard talking about killing the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And as they are all staring and looking at you, it is at this time that everyone notices that there is a group of 3 people traveling the road toward you. The woman in the lead is riding a white horse, and you know her from sight as the bishop. Just as you make eye contact with her, you see more robed figures fall upon her. They seem to come from the road itself.
Oh, okay. So, how far away does it look like the bishop is from us?
50 feet,
And
thereabouts.
there are 3 that kind of apparate from the road, and they're directly next to her.
Yes, they seem to be focused specifically on the bishop. You see that the 2 retainers, it looks like that the bishop is with, immediately kind of shock and shout in surprise. they do not react right away. They seem to be legitimately shocked. If this was D&D, this is a surprise round on them. And in this moment, you see that the other 5 of these robed figures that were ringing the tent and causing it to collapse now turn their attention to you and your group when they see that their little ruse has failed and no one is stuck beneath the tent's flaps, as they realize they are now standing 4v5. But of course, they've got friends down the road. But
Sure.
JD, in this moment of mania, what do you do as the rest of your companions turn? Schmendrick appears to raise his hands and begin to wiggle his fingers. You're not sure what that is going to do. Molly pulls out a frying pan, and the lady pulls next to you and stands there, and you see for a moment a flash of purple across her forehead. But what do you do in this moment as the ring awaits your command? Because you are the jaunting dude. You are JD. What do you do, my friend?
Well, I think JD is under the impression that the bishop needs to be like saved at all costs. At the very beginning of this, Randall has explained the people that I could watch and learn from. The ferryman and the bishop were the two that I chose, and so with the ferryman gone, I think JD is figuring that the bishop um, is needed more now than maybe ever. And so he's just going to turn and full on sprint towards the bishop.
Absolutely. Roll me a move roll to see if you can make it. Only 1 success is required here because in the age of always, every stride is the perfect stride.
And I got 2.
Bank one of those. You're getting quite the deposit here for your rolls. I'll need to make sure I raise
It's
my
been a good
DC
day.
a bit. Yeah. He didn't mean it, dice gods. It's been a terrible day. So as you are running towards there, you are able to make it into like within arm's reach of the white horse, almost like able to reach up and grab the bridle of the horse. But as you do so, and as you're running towards, you see the bishop, and she pulls out what looks to be half scepter and half mace as she brings this down and like absolutely crowns one of the robed figures that's on her right, and you see that the robe dents inward as if
Mm.
nothing is inside it. And then as she pulls, all our eyes wide with shock, as she pulls the scepter back, you see the hood kind of reinflate to fill what would have been a voided space because of the head. But you could tell that the bishop received no purchase from that. Um, you see that one of the on the opposite side of the bishop, the shadowed figure there has what look to be long shadowed talons coming from beneath the cuffs of the robe, and you realize that the bishop is unaware of this surprise attack that is coming against her. As they come down and are getting ready to enter her flesh, what do you do, JD? You are the only one that can act in this moment.
I can get to one of these robed figures. Do you
You
think?
can.
Okay,
Absolutely.
because I have been an athlete my entire life. I am going to full on just football tackle one of them. And how wide is the road?
The road is a typical 2-lane highway with a little bit of kind of like a gravel off, on each side that seems to also be a part of the road. But as soon as the asphalt itself is like a 2-lane plus a couple feet
Okay.
highway, so it's wide. You're in the very middle of it too. You're right at the lines.
My hope here is that if successful on the tackle, that I could get them close to being off of the road, and maybe on the next turn that I could get them like push them off if they
Oh,
operate
okay,
from the road and try and remove them from this.
absolutely. So this tackle, your ultimate design is to get them off of the road, correct?
Right, right.
Okay, so with this tackle, you have some banked already, but roll me a force, and you may add those other ones to it if you wish.
Okay. Mm, I
Damn.
don't. It's it's been something. Well, I think 2 is good. I'll keep my 2 banked ones.
Okay, I tell you that you got 2 banked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me one of them, and you get somebody off the road.
Okay, so there's the 1. I moved it from 2 to 1, so it turns it into 3 successes.
So that extra kind of banked force comes from the ring itself. And just as you hit perfect spear on shoulder to gut tackle, as you kind of drive into this robed figure, you start to feel as if you're jumping into a sheet on the clothesline. Like there is literally nothing behind it. But then you feel the ring's power surge in through your arm and down your ring finger. And all of a sudden there is substance underneath you and there is surprise as you hear a shock and a grunt of pain as you absolutely, though this is not the football design play that you wanted, you tackle and punt this person across the road. They roll and they hit the gravel and spin down into the loose grass along the forested side of the road. And as soon as they do that, they begin to scream, but you don't have any time for that. As you kind of pull yourself up and look around, the ring's power surging through you, what do you do as chaos descends upon the camp and more figures begin to apparate from the ground? And they're right on the lines, too. Now you can see as they kind of come between almost like a thin sheet between the split yellow lines, and then they form into a three-dimensional shape. You are joined in battle, my friend. The One Ring is with you. You have friends that are fighting towards the tent, but you and you alone have the bishop in front of you, who seems at this point to be being drug from her horse. What do you do?
Gonna go straight towards the one that's trying to grab at the bishop.
Okay. Roll me another force, and then we can decide what that looks like upon your success. You are able to get there. The other, you're still screams coming from off the side of the road as this, you can't even see what's going on, but the screams are so disturbing that even the ring seems a little off put by what it's hearing. But that is of no concern at this moment as you reach this figure who currently is scraping talons across the bishop's neck as this creature pulls her from the horse. You see bright lines of blood as she's not screaming. She is fighting like a fucking banshee as she's bringing this thing down, but she just can't get any purchase. It just keeps hitting like an empty burlap sack. And you can hear her cursing in the most polite terms. Like you hear several darnets and gadzooks, even if she's getting testy. But as she continues to do this, you get to this creature, and because of the ring's influence, you can feel the physical form beneath it as you yank this creature away. But the bishop continues her fall and hits the ground off of her horse now, but she seems no worse for wear than other those lines of blood that she has on her neck. My friend, you are locked in kind of like a wrestling kind of lockup with this robed figure.
Because with the ring, I'm feeling some form of like physical form. Does it feel human?
Humanoid. Definitely
Okay.
feels humanoid. You can't feel, I don't mean to be vague, but you're kind of feeling, you can definitely feel the robe, like the material of the robe, and you can feel like the physicality beneath it, but the person could have fur, could have scales, could have things like that, but they
Sure,
feel
sure, yeah.
humanoid, you know.
Yeah. Um I'll yell to the bishop, get to the others, and then if I can, I'm gonna try and I'm trying to figure out like what would be a weakness of these things if they're taking clubs to the head and nothing's happening to them. But maybe their power is the fact that they are shrouded in this darkness, in this cloak. So, if is there a way to like remove the cloak from them? A clasp that I could rip at?
There's definitely if you wanted to pull the hood down, you could. Their hoods are fully up. You can see that the robes are kind of monkish in that they're bound with a cord around the waist.
Mm,
There's no like zipper or opening, so it's not a robe in the traditional sense that can be opened from the front like a jacket. They're
right.
kind of, you put them on over your head and then
I'll tear at the potentially maybe what's protecting them from any physical type of damage. Maybe is the fact that they are, you know, this cloak is magical in some way. So I will try to remove the hood, pull the hood off the potential head of this person, this thing.
absolutely. And with your roll of force, you're able to do that. And as you yank the hood down, the ring says in your mind, That's it. That's it. As it realizes the realization that you've already made that the protection is coming from the robes themselves. And as you pull it down, you see the exposed face of a human female that you do not recognize. And she seems incredibly shocked that any of this has happened. And for a moment, you are looking into the face of maybe a 19, 20-year-old who is in complete and abject terror of you. Do you continue your attack? Do you throw her from the road? What do you do, my friend? In this moment, you have a surprise round.
Yeah, I'm going to remove a pawn from the board. I'll remove her from the road.
You turn and throw her off the road. And as you do so, she begins to scream as well. And you hear the ring in your mind say, "It couldn't be helped," for whatever that means.
Okay.
You
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just to kind of keep you in positioning, the 5 that were around the tent have now ringed the companions by the fire, but Schmendrick seems to be able to keep them at bay with his sparks, and Molly has actually picked up a log from the fire now to accompany her frying pan as she's holding both, and it seems as if the light maybe is keeping them back, but it's certainly not hurting them. It's not something that is they can't get into if they wanted to. It's just something that seems to give them pause for a second. Um, the bishop at your feet begins to convulse.
Oh no. How many are around us now? The
You
bishop
can't
and myself.
tell.
Can't
You
tell.
can't tell, but the 2 retainers are fighting something. But there is a swirl of darkness at this end as you're 50 feet removed from the fire, and it's still darkest before dawn here. It's almost as if this darkness has many hands, has many teeth, has many voices, and it's now you surrounded by the little bit of glow that the ring is producing and the convulsing form of the bishop at your feet. She is fully armored in what looks like plate mail, golden, and again, her scepter lies beside her, but you can see there's foam on her lips as she begins to shake.
Oh. Well, I'll run over to her and try and tend to her if I can. See if there's anything that's like I don't know, causing this. Like if it's the wounds, if it's something that's maybe like a weapon that was like stuck inside of her, something like that.
It's again because of your earlier successes, you can tell, and because you saw and you rolled the success with the way earlier with the ferryman, you can see the same type of black veinage, only this time it seems as if it's advanced. There's either something about the bishop or there's something about this poison that seems to be much faster acting than what has taken the life of the ferryman. Um, she cannot speak, but her face, even in this kind of contorted grimace of pain, is still so beautiful. She reaches a hand towards you, and you can see that each of her fingertips glows a golden light, and she has her hand splayed as she reaches to you, her eyes wide.
Okay, I'll go. Do I does it seem like she's trying to place it like on my chest, my shoulder, trying to get my hand to touch her? Like, does it seem like I can tell any intent by that?
Sure. You know what? Roll me a comprehend here as you look at this, or I'll take charm too, because this is kind of like a physical type of, you know, wow, son of a bitch, are you rolling? Um, yeah, you can tell that she's not reaching towards you specifically, but she is reaching for your hand as she puts these.
Yeah, I'll take it for sure. That's what I'm gonna try and do. That's what I thought she was doing, but wanted to make sure.
At, yep, as you grab hold, you feel a surge of power go through you. And you hear the ring gasp. This is the second time in, less than a day that you've heard shock and surprise come from the ring. And the bishop's eyes are wide, and you can see that almost the entire whites of her eyes are now clouded with this darkness. Her lips are completely black. Her tongue is black in her mouth, and she spits out to you, "You can't use it. Carry it." And blood, bile, or darkness itself begins to pour from her mouth.
Okay. I mean, I know what she's talking about, but it's so shiny. um,
Is that what JD's thinking?
Kinda,
Tell me what
yeah.
JD's thinking. Like this power shouldn't just be carried. Is that the type of approach? Or
Well, I think he's thinking like I can't use it, but it's the thing that's helping me stop the things, right? Like it's the without it, without the ring, I'm unable to. No one's able to do anything about these cloaked figures, and um, so he feels like if he, how do I even word this? JD has almost been like not powerless, but powerless in a sense to deal with his fears, and with this, he's able to do something about it, or it seems like it's like a conduit to help him. And if he doesn't use it, he's unable to do some of these things. Like, what was the wolf kind of creature, the Gamork or whatever? I don't think he would have been able to stop that without the ring.
Yep.
And he'll look down and say, if I get rid of it, do you live?
she looks at you, this black darkness coming down her chin and now dripping across her golden plate. "I am dead regardless." But it comes out with pops as she's forcing air and voice through this liquid, chokes and gasps and spit. You can see it kind of hitting the road in front of you.
Okay. Well, that
You hear
is
the
not
voice in
good.
your head. Yeah, you hear the voice in your head almost simultaneously as the ring says, "She's giving you something. I don't know what it is. It's power, but it does not work with me."
So JD's thinking you don't know what it is because it's good.
Maybe.
But the One Ring isn't something that you can just leave behind. You can't just drop it and keep it on the road, because then there's no telling who might find it and pick it up. But she said, can you remind me what she said? She says I can't use it, but
You can carry it.
I can or cannot
You can't use it, but you can carry it.
carry it. Okay, okay. And under your idea here, is me taught when I communicate with the ring, is that me using it, or using it is literally putting it on my finger and going invisible?
You would think that it would be the latter. It would be the
Okay.
actual application of the magic. Yeah.
Okay. Well, shoot. If I know that she's gone, I need to go help try and protect the other three. Um,
You can, for a brief moment, there is an alley basically between you and them, as the kind of like the fire acts as a buffer to keep an
mhm.
opening for, you can get to the others right now, but you can tell that the retainers of the bishop are in a bad way. You can see them being drug off the road. You see that the robed figures seem to like the cut of your jib, and they are trying to throw the retainers off the road as well.
Oh man. Okay, but the retainers are closer to me in distance than the Molly, Schmendrick, and what's the other person's name? Al
The Lady
Alf
Althea.
Althea. I'll go try and help
The
the
Lady
retainers.
Amalthea. I'm thinking of something else. Amalthea, yeah. We can just call her
Okay.
the lady though, because I'll butcher that all day.
Okay. I'm gonna put the lady, so I also I'll go towards the retainer that's closest to me to try and like counter their pulling the retainer off the road and you know get them off the road instead.
Okay, roll me a force.
Yep. 1.
Okay. You are able to keep the retainer from being pulled off of the road, but you can see now that where you couldn't identify how many there were before, now that you're kind of you're deeper into this kind of crowd of shadowy fists and figures that are beginning to clutch at you too, I might add. You can see there are no fewer than 24 of them here.
Oh, goodness.
The horses are becoming spirited. The bishop's horse seems to be very well trained, but the retainer's horses seems to have been frightened. One of them runs off the road, and you immediately hear it begin to scream. It's like whinnies and neighs of absolute pain, as you can just see the form of it, the bulk drop off the road as it drops to the ground.
So there are a total of like 24 of these shadowy
At
creatures.
At least you can just see that there is just a horde of them that seem to be continuing to appear in the middle of the road and creeping and pushing towards you.
Okay. Great. Remind me. So I know that stepping onto the road is a dangerous thing, but as I'm watching people get removed from the road, removing yourself from the road is equally as dangerous. What
Well,
would
provided
Jade?
if you have a guide, you're fine.
I think our guy died. So,
Yeah.
and maybe that's what
There's
I.
another one. There's another person that can use, but unfortunately they're not here.
Yeah.
They have other shit going
Right.
on.
Yeah. Right. I will. I mean, so JD's thinking like we gotta go. We gotta get off of this thing somehow. And I'm uncertain how. Uh, but it also at the same time the fire is what's keeping them somewhat at bay. So I'm gonna try and get this retainer, like pull this retainer and get them to run with me towards that fire.
I'll tell you this, you can get one of the retainers and do exactly what you said, but you will definitely be sacrificing the other. There's no way to free them both.
I think there's no good answers here. Um there's only a little bit of chances here that we can you survive with who you can survive with, I guess is all I'm trying to say. Um so yeah, I'll keep one retainer and unfortunately sacrifice the other in that way and run towards the fire.
You are able to get there, but about 10 feet from the fire, you hear the retainer cough. And as you look over, you see him and black comes out over his chin and he looks at you in absolute fright, and you can see the scratches along his face, along his arms that were exposed. What's happening? As he drops to his knees and you see him begin to convulse as he makes it to the fire, but again is in the same way as the bishop.
Okay.
The others look at you and they're wild-eyed with panic. They don't seem to be fearful of the creatures, but they now see what they're up against. This incredible might that is like this battalion of darkness that is falling in on all of you.
Yeah. We need to. The bishop's gone. We need to go as soon as possible. How do we get off the road?
You all look around and everybody seems to not. Molly's, wild-eyed with no suggestions. The lady is wild-eyed, no suggestions. And Schmendrick's the same way. But then he looks at all of you and says, grab hands, everyone grab hands. And he reaches and you see him grab Molly's hand and you see him loop arms with the lady, but he does not take her by the hand. And you see him put his hand around the necklace.
Okay, I'll join hands with them. Grab the lady's hand.
You see Schmendrick yank the chain from his neck, and as soon as he does, you all begin to fall. Everybody, if you could go to your Spotify playlist and I don't know, why don't you play a little track number 3 of Pink Floyd, if you will?
Because you made it a note, am I thinking that the lady didn't grab Schmendrick's hand because that's the hand that could cause the sparks that could hurt her, or does JD think of something different?
No, that's absolutely one of
Okay.
the reasons. You can see that Molly didn't have a problem grabbing his hand, but at the same time, he didn't want to have that direct contact with the lady. And he also used that hand to pull the necklace from
Necklace
his.
off.
But you think that he could have done both? Is basically you see it was the deliberate purpose or act to not grab the lady's hand.
Would in the moment that he rips the necklace off and like removes it from his body, if I were to have tried to grab it, would it stop us from doing this, from falling?
Grab the necklace?
Uh-huh.
You don't know. Do you want to give it a shot?
I mean, it's the four-leaf clover, you know? It
It
means
sure
something.
is.
Yeah, I mean, I have a banked move. Can I use it to try and snag it?
You absolutely can. And as the crystalline four-leaf clover falls towards the fire, the last thing that you see in this space is JD's hand reaching out, the hand that doesn't have the ring on it, as you grab hold of the four-leaf clover and you feel the edges of each of the four leaves. And you can even feel the raised never say never on the back as you all disappear.
Yes.
You awaken. You're not sure how long it's been, but you are in what looks like a burned out forest, once lush and beautiful, but now the victim of some type of wildfire. And as you're standing in the corpse of this once great and lush area, the others are standing there and looking around. Even in you're not sure how long you've been here, but it couldn't have been too long. You're all already kind of stained with soot as the ash is blowing along the breeze. And Schmendrick looks around. Where are we? Where are we?
I was hoping you could tell us.
Molly shakes her head at both of you. I don't know. And the lady looks up and she turns around and there are tears on her cheeks, but they seem brighter, more metallic, almost like a mercury or a silver. This is Fantasia. What is left of it? Something has happened. Something terrible. We must get to the ivory tower.
Do you know the way?
She nods, and you see a hesitancy about her for a moment. And the ring whispers in your ear, "She is not what she seems."
What do you mean?
She is no girl.
Who is she then?
I believe we are going to find out. And in front of you, you see this beautiful girl drop to her hands and knees, and within 2 breaths, one in, one out, a beautiful unicorn stands in front of you. Schmendrick creeps forward and picks up the overdress and shoves it into his pack and turns back to you. Surprise!
Uh, I think JD's like at a loss for words. He's like, "What just happened?"
The unicorn looks at you and you hear the mouth does not move because I don't like the Mr. Ed visual of it, but you can hear in your mind the unicorn say, "It's still me. It's the real me." And you can tell there is a concern that will change your opinion of her.
Okay. This is a lot. Let's get to the tower.
She looks at you, looks at all of you. It's not near. Not by Fantasia standards. Follow me. And she begins to walk through the dust. Do you follow, my friend? The ring is not objecting. The
Yeah.
ring's just quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So as you all begin walking, 6 months later, you see the ivory tower. And upon its peaking along the horizon, the unicorn turns to you. I told you it was close. And Schmendrick comes up and he pats your back. We did it. We found it, sir. Took a bit. It's a walk and a half.
We have two different definitions of close, apparently.
Well, you're young, Schmendrick says.
Not
Even
anymore.
though Schmendrick is yeah, really. And so you all are able to, after this 6-month journey across several, or at least the main continent of Fantasia, you arrive at the Ivory Tower. And as you walk towards it, you realize that it too is stained. It still holds much of its brightness, but it is as if its tip was a candle. It's soot and cracked and off center. Its geometry is wrong. And as you get closer, you see at the base of the tower there are 2 gravestones and nothing else.
Anything written on the stones or to indicate who it is? Or who
As
they
you all
were?
get closer, yeah. And it's been a long time. And, you've come to know Molly Grew and Schmendrick, over these 6 months, and they are exactly who you thought they were from their beginning. Molly is sarcastic, but incredibly invested. She has been mothering the shit out of you for the last 6 months. She is making sure that any holes in your clothes are fixed, almost in the middle of the night. If a jacket, a sleeve gets torn, it's fixed the next day. Schmendrick looks upon you, even though he is nearly 20 years older than you, he looks upon you as a peer or even an older brother, asking you questions, strange things like, um, uh, did Atari ever take off? Was it something? Was it a hit? Did they, just questions, about what you would believe to be like questions from your youth. You seem like his knowledge of Garrett doesn't really progress since like 83 or 4. Like he's right around, he gets capped off right around there. So over the 6 months, you've kind of been able to figure out exactly when he left Garrett. And the lady, the unicorn, has, been a constant companion. And again, the ring doesn't offer any type of condemnation of the unicorn. It's almost like the ring was off put, that it didn't recognize the illusion at the beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of strained the relationship, apparently. But they are exactly as you said they would be, or thought they would be. As you guys all approach the ivory tower, you see these 2 tombstones, and you see that over one of them, which is a little grander than the other, it simply says, "Here lies the Empress." And you can tell that there was a name written down, but the name seems to have been burned and actually filed off for some reason. The stone is smooth there, but you could tell that it's been cut before, but the name is no longer legible. And in the other grave, you see but one word, and it says Bastion.
Okay. In the 6 months that we've been traveling, has there been anything new with the power that the bishop like pushed on to JD?
Nothing.
Nothing.
In
Okay.
fact, the ring assures you that there is a power in there, but it just simply can't tell you anything more about it. You don't detect any type of like subterfuge from the ring. It's definitely being honest. You two cannot not be honest with one another. You don't. There's no manipulation there, or no word play or anything. It simply says it knows it's there, but it doesn't know what it does. And so it hasn't been able to offer it too much more in the way of explanation or utilization or anything like that. But when you look at these graves, roll me another investigate. Man, oh man. So much for failure in this one. When
I don't
you
know the meaning.
He doesn't mean it. Um, when you look on the tombstones, you see behind the one that is labeled the Empress, you see a separate, like a chiseled scroll there cut into the rock. And it says, "Find the Dark Tower. There you will learn the enemy's design. Only you can do this, JD." And it is signed, "She who sits the Mobius throne."
When it says only I can do it, do I get the impression that if anyone else is with me, I will be unable to? Or
You
it's
don't
just
get
like
that
I'm
from.
okay.
Yeah, it seems like this has fallen to you, but not you alone. If that makes sense, it's your war
Charge.
to win, but soldiers are definitely something that'll be needed.
Gotcha. I think JD's tired too. It's been 6 months of travel. And gotta travel some more to a dark tower. Um but I'll look to the lady who is now just in a different form. You ever heard of the Dark Tower?
You can see she kind of shakes her mane. No. And Molly shrugs her shoulders, but Schmendrick is looking at you, and you can see the fear around the corners of his eyes. "I know of it. We are getting farther away from the age, though. I don't know if I can get us back. I don't control it. I'm not even sure if I can get us to the tower."
I think we need to go there. Well, I need to go there. I know that.
They all perk up, and each one of them declares that they are with you for as long as they are needed.
Um Schmendrick, do you have any idea of the direction? We can head there tomorrow.
We will have to jump again. The tower is many places, but it is never in Fantasia.
Okay. Can you do that for us?
Yes, I can. My friend, this is where you need to tell me what happens. The next morning, Schmendrick is able to jump again. And when you arrive in a new world, there on the horizon is the Dark Tower. But it always seems to be the same distance away when you travel towards it. And mornings you will wake up and it'll be completely gone. And Schmendrick will jump again, and there it'll be on the horizon. But over the next 13 years, what do you do? Your friends stay with you. The lady, the unicorn, Molly, Schmendrick, they are with you through thick and thin, through the trials of environment and, beasts that are mad with hunger that attack in the night. Together, you are able to survive. And through these 13 years, you watch as Schmendrick gets older, as Molly becomes a gray haired grandmother as opposed to a mother. The lady, the unicorn, does not change at all. And neither do you. You are 14 years old. even for the next 13.
I think JD, through this time has been trying to figure out this puzzle of why I can't get there. And I think maybe he's known or thinks he's known for a bit. He's on the next jump when we're the closest we've ever been to it. I assume that that's what it's the closest, and then as we move towards it, we get further away. I'll look to the others and say, I think I have to go by myself. I don't think you guys can come with me. Not for this part.
They look hurt.
If I had it my way, you could, but we've been doing the same thing for a long time. You've all given me so much, and I've been able to provide nothing for you. I don't think I can keep you trapped in this loop for any longer.
Roll me a charm. Big shocker. They all look at you and they nod, and Schmendrick says, I don't know if it will work, but my friend, we will do whatever you say. We will wait for you here.
I hope I can come back. Don't wait too long. If I don't make it, just, I don't know. Try and be happy.
They all move forward and they all fall into you with these incredibly meaningful. They're hugs that are only shared between those that truly know one another, that truly love one another. It's the hugs that Keystones give one another. And the three of them clutch you like you are their everything. And in many ways you are. But they realize that you're right. And Schmendrick assures you, we will wait, but not too long. Godspeed, my friend.
Thank you all so much. And I will turn around and leave.
Over the next week, you are getting closer to the tower than you've ever been. And since I'm not going to ask you to roll and investigate because I already know what's going to happen, one night when you are sitting at your fire, if you have one, in the dark, if you don't, you see behind you, maybe a half day's ride back, another fire. And you smell upon the breeze sandalwood, gun smoke, leather. And then it's gone. And the next night you see the campfire again, but it's closer, maybe by an hour or two. And you smell the gun smoke, the sandalwood, the leather. And the next night, closer still.
Do I get a sense that on this third night that there's a way of getting to it?
It's back the way you came, and it seems to be following your path to the letter.
Okay, I have a job to do, and that's to get to this tower, and potentially I think as although JD's heart and mind is like wanting to get to someone again, right? It's been weeks that I've been alone. I think maybe he stops himself from doing so because it's the path he's taking that's allowing them to continue on. If he deviates from that path, maybe the things that are supposed to happen can't happen. And so he waits, he sits at his campfire, staring into it every night, thinking about all the friends he's made through his journey. And each time he has to try, every night gets harder, but he has to try and remind himself that that's who he's doing it for. It's not just about him. And so he'll fall asleep that night, and he will continue on his track towards the Dark Tower.
It is on, you believe you're less than a day from the tower by the, you're able to kind of extrapolate your distance and being able to make it where in each day, you can see that you're getting closer and closer. And here on this final day, you realize that within the day you'll get there, but you have to drop down into a ravine and basically climb up the other side, almost literally climb. It's very, very steep, but at the top of it is the tower. And as you go down into the crevice and you are climbing up, roll me a move roll. And I believe you have some banked, so you can use them if you want. But if you want
I
to roll
use
and try
my
to
move banked. I do have a force, but I'll get you that.
Fantastic. Okay, so you are making great time. And as you are coming up on the opposite side, maybe like it's a weird, it's almost like a V, like you came down on one side and then you're coming up the other, but the V itself is only about 100 feet across from where you went down to where you're climbing up on the other side of the V. And as you're climbing, you hear from the distance where you were, where you started your descent, you hear flag, and it echoes through the ravine and the crevice. Flag, flag, flag.
JD hasn't heard that name in a long time. And his relationship with Flag is, or at least was, almost at all times like where Flag was the bad guy. For a very short time, he was, I think, at best neutral.
That's very fair.
He also doesn't. I mean, I think he's just going to continue to climb. He's going to try and get away from whatever that is, thinking that it's trying to. It's another test. It's another challenge. It's trying to detract him from what he's supposed to do.
You keep climbing and you hear a gunshot, but you hear a ricochet. And it's about a foot to your hand as you're not like free climbing. It's, you could walk up it, but it's almost like walking up like a ski slope, like you are, and you hear it ring off one of those rocks.
Okay.
Flag.
I'll shout back. It's not Flag.
Are you looking or just shouting?
I'm going to turn around.
You see a man standing with a gun drawn that you recognize, wearing a long tan coat, a red kind of handkerchief, and a cowboy hat. You cannot see anything from the lips up, but you see the barrel still smoking pointed in your direction. As a reader and a bookworm, JD would know this person as Roland the Gunslinger.
And remind me, because again, it's been long. I gave Roland the bullet, right? That's who it was? Or who was it that I gave the bullet to?
You gave Donovan the bullet.
Donovan, that's who it was. That's who it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Trying to remember all this stuff.
Me too, buddy.
And I'll look to him, and I'll just say, "You mind pointing the gun down?"
You can see the lips smile. Stop. You ain't going to the tower.
Why's that?
Because I said so. It ends here, Flag. For
Told
good.
you, it's not Flag. I'm not Flag.
You're always someone different, aren't you?
What would convince you?
Nothing.
Has Flag ever been in two places at once? At the same time together? Two flags in the same location?
The smile fades. How can I answer that?
Well, I can. Because I'm not Flag and I've been with Flag.
The proclamation that you aren't Flag, but you know Flag doesn't seem to help your situation much in Roland's eyes.
Sure.
As he just continues to aim. This is happening one way or the other. You stop, or I stop you. That's always been the game, Flag.
You're gonna kill somebody you don't know?
Nope.
So where do we go from here?
You get the sense that when he said nope, he meant he's going to be just fine killing you because he believes you to be Flag and somebody that he knows. You asked if he was comfortable killing somebody he doesn't know.
Sure.
So he's not deterred by that. The ring does offer, though, he means to do it.
I know. I have to get to that tower one way or another.
I know. And you know I can't let you.
I only know you from pages.
The gun's barrel falters a bit. What do you mean?
I mean, until now, you only existed in words.
The barrel straightens again. And you say you ain't Flag. You talk just like him.
That's the meanest thing you've said to me this whole time. I don't think I'm anything like him.
Roll me a charm. And I'm going to tell you this, it's not one success on this one.
Bummer.
You hear the ring say, he doesn't have to see us.
No. But the bishop said I can't use you, and I haven't used you in 14 years.
I'm ready to go. I'm all rested up.
You would say that. Always tempting.
No, I haven't tempted you once in all this time. I don't want to see you die. And I don't want to be on the hand of some gun hand. Count of 10, Flag.
Am I getting the sense here that like I'm kind of in I'm gonna die unless I run type of thing?
That's definitely what the ring thinks. If you want to roll me a empathize, I will let you know exactly what Roland's thinking, should you succeed.
might as well try.
Yeah, he's gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Because of course you had a success on that one. Yeah, he means to shoot you. He seemed again with it's almost like you know Roland, and you were able to read him a little bit more than somebody you just met, which is strange. But as you looked across and over to him, you could tell that there was a moment where he had just a fraction of doubt, but that's gone now. The comment about him being nothing more than words seemed to absolutely solidify in his mind that he's got his man, and he means to drop you off that hill.
Okay. Well, it seems like he got me. And I'm going to put the ring on and I'm going to run.
Roll me a move. You put the ring on, and just as you put the ring on, it's almost as if you have there's a spasm that goes through your arm as you activate the ring, and it's enough to kind of like make you kind of pinch to your side a bit. And just as you disappear and pinch to your side, right where you had the space you had been occupying, 3 shots travel within about the space of a quarter, going through what would have been your heart, but they ricochet off the ground and the rock behind you. Bing, bing, bang, these incredible ricochets spraying dirt and everything up. And you see across the way, Roland just starts spraying, but he has no clue where you are. And he tracks in the wrong direction as if he's anticipating a movement to the left, but you went to the right. And you start to run up the hill, and you can hear him reloading and cursing and just screaming, "Flag!" And you just hear the boom, 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 6 shots, boom, 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 as he just continues to fire blindly, literally trying to hit you. And he's nowhere near you, but it's a bit disconcerting. But you take to the top of the hill, and you realize that he's either run out of ammunition or he's following, because he knows where you're going. He just can't see you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm just going to continue to run towards the tower. I mean, JD doesn't have, other than he doesn't necessarily know what this power from the bishop does, and he's been either unable or can't seem to get it to do anything through this time. And he knows like the dark tower is where he needs to go. That's what he's been doing for the last 14 years. Can't stop now.
And it is, like we said, within the day. And so as you climb up with that determination of a decade and a half, basically in this pursuit, you make it to the tower. But the tower itself has no door, has no opening that you can see. But as you get closer, you can see in the obsidian surface of the tower almost like a liquid spill, like someone painting with petroleum, painting with oil, as it kind of swirls and leaves like a bit of rainbow where the light catches the different discoloration of the oil and whatnot. And as you approach, you hear and see the tower speak to you with a message that is a decade and a half in the waiting. And it says, "Follow the trail of war. Win the battles the enemy has deemed unwinnable. Then and only then will you find the family you lost." And in your mind, you get the sense of what not only this prophecy means, but the person that left the prophecy meant. And you see the books and the paperback exchange. You see the movies that you sat down to watch and the television shows that enraptured you as you were able to take the travels of all of these great characters. But in your mind, you see each of these movies and books and TV shows end very differently, as the heroes in each of these tales are murdered before they can be heroes. They are put to dirt. They are unable to be the heroic art and force and light that they needed to be. And you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the enemy, faceless as they may be, is behind it all. and they are weaning the heroes from the world. The legends are dying, each of them with some subtle shift of the tale, a new line that is added, a new paragraph read, a new scene is entered into these movies and these TV shows. And all of these heroes, like Optimus Prime, who's fantastical, a cartoon for God's sakes, you see that they no longer reach that potential, that the new stories written by the enemy are killing them all before they become who they were meant to be. There will be no charge of the heroes. There will be no legends of the paperback exchange unless you can do something about it.
Okay. I don't know what to do here. I think JD's thinking like I've spent all this time trying to get here and it's just been another I'm being told to go somewhere else again.
Yep.
And
Does JD despair? It's been so long.
yeah, I don't know that he has it in him to do it all over again. He takes the ring off. I think he sits back toward against the tower. And he's gonna sit there. I don't know what else to do here. And he's gonna play with the ring in his hand, flip it over. And I think he's gonna attempt to set it down. Just on the ground next to him. So it's no longer touching him.
Do you say anything to the ring?
I think he says, bye. And he just leaves it be. And then he's going to focus really hard, trying to sense that the light that the bishop pushed into his hand. And I think this is his last ditch attempt to get somewhere he needs to be. And he's going to try and I guess for lack of a better term, get somewhere else, use whatever that power is to get somewhere that's not here.
Sure. Absolutely. So there's no response from the ring. You don't get a feeling. You don't get a feeling of sadness or, like a wait, nothing like that. No voice, no feeling, no action, no event. You set it down beside the dark tower, and there, these two mythical objects are at rest. And as soon as you take off the ring, you can feel this flood of light. Not to say that the ring didn't have it, there was no darkness involved with the ring, but it's as if the light itself was corked, was unable to flow. And my friend, we are going to do what is called a montage, which is a very 80s thing to do here. And I would like everybody to, I don't know, put on, hey, how about Sweet Child of Mine, number 10, which is the song of JD. As you take off the ring and leave it behind, a ring that was never meant to be JD's. Maggie never left the One Ring as one of the weapons of the paperback exchange. She had left the hat of Sherlock Holmes. God knows what happened to that. But the ring took its place because it wanted out. And JD, well, JD was the walking dude, and it knew it could get where it needed to be. So no resistance is offered as it is set down. exactly where it needed to be. And as the bishop's light flies through you, you see Roland rushing towards the tower, gun up as he starts to fire. The bullets go through your chest and hit the tower behind you as you are leaning against it. And just as you disappear, the bullets finding no purpose in your ghost-like form, you hear the ring say, "Goodbye, JD." And you disappear, my friend. And for the next 100 years, JD fights. JD, you are on the wall built at the fortress named for Helm Hammerhand as you defend against the orcs that are charging Helm's Deep. You look around, roll me and investigate. Something is wrong and something is different here at Helm's Deep. The change that the enemy has made, the change that will rob the legends of Aragorn, King Theoden, all of the heroes that stood and made it at Helm's Deep. There is no light on the eastern horizon. You are it. And as you look around, dressed in your own battle garb with the sword at your side and a shield on your wrist, you see on the battlements as the king looks down surveying the battle, Wormtongue is standing beside him. And you know he does not make it this far in the book. What do you do, my friend?
I'm gonna go try and take out fucking Wormtongue. Fuck that guy.
You tell me how you do it. You know what? We're done with all this. You're not rolling anymore. Tell me how you do it.
Yeah, sure. I think I am. I'm just gonna drive my sword through. I'll turn him around from wherever he's standing because JD's not gonna stab somebody in the back. He's got to make sure that he's doing it as potentially as honorable as he can. But he's gonna turn him around and like stab him through the gut. And in like maybe a Tolkien-esque type of thing, he's gonna whisper in his ear, "Darkness will not win this day."
And as you take Wormtongue completely by surprise, a character who is living on far more than borrowed time, you run him through just as you said, and the king momentarily goes to scream to defend his trusted advisor, but then the shadow of the spell fades from him. He looked healthy. He didn't look as he did before with the corruption of Wormtongue. That was different too. Wormtongue was trusted, but still had ensorcelled the king. And as soon as Wormtongue dies, the king knows that his life was in danger, that Helm's Deep would have fallen. And he looks at you. "Thank you. What is your name?"
Just call me JD.
And JD, since I didn't make you roll for that, I'm certainly not going to make you roll for this. You call yourself JD, but my God, you cannot remember what that stands for. Jaunting dude, something like that. And
Gotcha.
just as quickly, you are gone from this area. My friend, you are standing in a burned out pit as years go by and the next flash of a great battle is before you. But in the interim between these, there are several battles, skirmishes fought, books that are written back to the way that they had been, heroes that are saved from fates that were not their own. And now you are at yet another theater as you sit there and you see this burned out, destroyed building as a huge army of mythical creatures is aligned, and you can tell that they are evil, and they're snakes that fly armored through the sky. And you see that there is but one man who is standing against this entire horde. He is standing, his body broken, the shield at his side cracked, and you see him pull himself up as if he intends to stand against this flood. But you know battle. You have been in countless fights. You know the words that are supposed to come from stories. This is not one you recognize, though. But what you do recognize is where you appear just off to the side behind one of the debris, you see one of those robed figures, one of those ghost-like figures you fought all those years ago along Eternity Road, and it seems to be casting a spell. You can see its fingers moving and trailing these yellow lines through the air, but it does it over and over again. And you can see that this is doing something to this space. And you are a veteran of these types of things, and you know the change is here, that it's coming from that individual. What do you do, my friend?
Well, I remember that the cloak was its ability to stay like incorporeal, so I'm going to try and pull the hood so that they become more like actual human again, and yeah, try to interrupt this spell, whatever they're doing.
You are able to do just that as you pull the hood up. It's the act of doing that where you just kind of pop out and pull this hood back that causes whatever this person is to stop casting this spell. And for a moment, they look so shocked, and you see that yellow kind of haze that had dominated from the spell removed, almost like a lens being brought up from a filtered camera, and everything retains its original hue, its original color, as the spell is no longer present and no longer applied to this space. And as the hood goes back, you see the creature melt in the light of the day, even as dim and dull as it is. They don't seem to die as much as they just cease to be. And in your hand, one of the robes still exists, the one that was the person was wearing, and you hold it, one of countless ones that you have secured over the course of your decades of battle. And you look down and you see that the lone man is standing there against this horde. And something calls you to stand with him. But what do you do, my friend?
Yeah, he's definitely going to as he jumps from story to story, tale to tale, becoming you know I guess heroes of these things. He's going to stand back to back with this yeah, with this hero and help against this army.
As you move down, you see the man. He looks over at you and he is battered and bloody. And he sees you, and there is such a look of relief that there is still one that would stand with him. And you see him kind of slump and just knowing that it's still futile, but there's someone here. There is another person. And you hear barely just a crackle. You hear something, but you couldn't make it out. It's too weak for your ear. And you see the man touch his own ear, and you hear distinctly on your left. And you see these circles begin to appear in the sky as rings of fire begin to produce an army for this man, this captain who stands before this horde as you stand beside him. These heroes that some you recognize from comic books, from the paperback exchange, but many you don't, from an age yet to come, an age that JD missed. But you all stand there and you face this enemy, and this captain turns to you all as you assemble, and he says the words, Avengers, assemble. And you charge with Captain America and the others as you fight through the hordes of Thanos. You are with them. You are with them all, JD. Every hero, Arthur, every hero that has stood against evil, JD has been there. JD has saved them. JD has made his own name part of the authors of these works. He has woven his own tales. He has made his own heroes. He has supported the very fabric of what it means to be good in this place. And at the end, you stand before an emerald city. You're not sure where you are. It's been 100 years, but that is something you can't comprehend. It's not something that can be thought of or figured. But something tells you you've been here before. You finally found the road. That what you need is inside that city. But you don't know what that is. Someone looks up at you. Mitch!
He turns and looks.
There's a 20-year-old young man with long blonde hair that's standing outside of a yellow Volkswagen Beetle. You with us, buddy?
I think I just nod. Just don't know why someone would call me that name, but yeah, just look at him sternly and just give him a nice nod.
Strangely enough, it doesn't sound wrong, though. It doesn't necessarily sound right, but it doesn't sound wrong, if that makes any sense.
Perhaps I've even been called different names for every place I've been. It's just, so this is just my name in this location.
You have been called different names in every place that you've been. You've gone by many, many names as you've walked through these different places. They've known you by different things. The jaunting dude or the walking dude probably being the most prevalent as your story has grown. But here you're just Mitch, for whatever reason. And the young man jumps inside the Volkswagen Beetle and he yells out of the rolled down windows, "I'm beginning my attack run." And as this battle rages outside of what you now know to be the Emerald City in Oz, you see the Volkswagen drive off towards the city along the road. But you smell gun smoke, sandalwood, leather. My friend, you are in charge, a general of an army. As you look to your right and left, you see predominantly black-clad figures, but in many places you see the same faces repeated over and over again, and there's names whispered among them that don't really mean anything to you. As you hear Jerry and Ben and Shannon, you hear all of these names that whisper to you, that tell you, you know, what exactly you're not sure. They're hints of the past, but your whole world for the last 100 years has been lines and words. Is this a story? Is it your story? Roll me a comprehend. And this is the last one I'm going to make you roll. You didn't fail a fucking roll that entire session. Does anybody realize that? Okay. Whatever. I love it. I love it so much. You sit there, JD. You cannot remember your name. You remember only the good that you have done, the teachings of the Dark Tower, the saving of the heroes. You know that you've done your duty. You know that you have paid the iron price for saving the heroes of legend, the heroes of lore. But in this moment, in front of this battle, you know it is the last one. That your days of commanding, your days of charging, your days of the muck, the mire, the blood ends on this day. And in your pocket, you feel something. And as you pull it out, you see a crystalline four-leaf clover. It catches the light and it says, "Never say never." Around you, your army waits. Before you, the place you need to be for this, the last battle of JD. What do you do, my friends, or my friend, in this moment as you command the forces of good against a very bad wizard?
Man, what a question. I am just going to which direction were these smells coming from?
Strangely enough, they were coming from in front of you.
Yep. I'm going to lead my army towards this towards the Emerald City, but I'm making my way towards those smells.
So the charge is sounded,
That it
and
is.
the army of JD charges Emerald City. And as the battle progresses and the moments of mania, these pockets of fighting erupt all over the place as people fall on both sides, as witches in the air blast with energy, as flying monkeys begin to act as anti-aircraft. Anything that can happen in this fantastical world seems to be a part of this battle. But JD, you are able to fight through all of this. You are able to look for that leather, that gun smoke, and it takes you deep down inside the bowels of some, I don't know, the building looks familiar. It's the main building here in the city, but you, damn if you can remember, it resembles something. But you are able to follow that smell deep inside until you are in what looks like a prison, and one cell door remains open. And you don't know why, but your destiny awaits. After 100 years of serving.
I guess I get the impression that that cell is for me.
You don't believe that cell is for anybody. And you can believe whatever you would like. I have opened the door for it. Please don't think I want you to walk in. It's completely up to you.
Well, I think at the end of everything, at the end of all this, he looks down and sees his necklace, and like a star, he wishes upon it to see his friends one last time before the end. And he'll go inside the cell and just sit back against the wall like he did with the tower, ready to be done, and just wishes his last wish. He wants to see his friends again.
Then, my friend, as you go in and sit down just as you described, the cell door remains open, but as you slide down like you did so many years ago with your back to the dark tower, you close your eyes and you open them again, and you are not in a prison cell. You are in a throne room, and you see a bending and twisting chair in front of you. It doubles in on itself. It has no line that ever ends. Somehow you know that this is the Mobius throne. And there sits upon it a queen. And Heather looks down at you and says, "And now you understand." And that, my friends, is where we end Atari Twilight Keystone.
Well,
What a fun ride.
Shit. Very quick introductions this time. We have to do a quick after show. Bacon, welcome back, buddy. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, and what are you up to?
Yeah, that was so much fun. Let me just say, what a ride. You can find me on X or Twitter, whatever this site is called now, at As Told by Dice. Like I said at the beginning, I've been taking a little bit of a hiatus due to having my son, but I think I'll be coming back here soon. Been working on a campaign setting, so maybe I'll start to throw some things out. But yeah, this was so much fun. Thanks for putting this on, Greg. It was amazing. Thanks so much.
Hell freaking yes. And Greg, you know what you've done here. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
Hey, everybody. My name's Greg. I'm Warp Reactor over on YouTube. If you want to join me, I do reaction videos for a lot of sci-fi stuff. So, if you're down with that, come over and we can clown around and have fun. You can also find me on Friday nights over on Academic Foxhole with Trooper going through a fun game of Traveler. But again, I will be here until the end of it all, running Atari Twilight, because I can't stop. It's an addiction. I could not put it down like JD put the ring down, and I don't intend to. So until we meet again, friends, Atari Twilight lives, it breathes, and it will savage your soul.
Hell yes. That's it from us, guys. If you want to support us, you know where to do it. I'm ending the show here. We got to do our after show. Check it out on Patreon. From all of us to you guys, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.